Greetings, adventurers. This is DM Kurt, and I want to talk to you about Dragonlance for 5th edition. What would Wizards of the Coast change about good old 1st edition Dragonlance that they would have to do before they bring it into 5th edition under their own guidelines? So, opening up that Dragonlance campaign book, one of the first things that comes to your hands is the pages that say that if your cleric that you bring into Krynn worships a non-Krynn god, they're going to be completely locked out of their spells because your god does not have power or jurisdiction on Krynn. This is kind of explained in 2nd edition's Spelljammer books, how each set of planets and moons is within its own crystal sphere, and the gods have influence within those particular crystal spheres. Not necessarily one from Krynn can have access to Faerun or some other location like Greyhawk or such. Well, that doesn't really fit with 5e culture, in that 5e player's handbook straight up, hey, you play a cleric. Maybe you worship a god. Maybe you worship just a sort of vague philosophy of good, or a philosophy of life or nature or the home and hearth. There's some incompatibility there. So they would have to hammer that out. The Dragonlance for 5th edition, rumor mill, got an extra notch on them for the recent Unearthed Arcana, which gave the Dragonborn race better abilities and fixed what some people thought was one of the weaker races. They get to use their breath weapon more often. It's slightly more powerful. They got a few extra feats. Kobolds were reworked, and there were some new dragon-based spells and feats. And one of the spells mentioned Fizban and his Platinum Shield, which is straight up a Dragonlance reference. Never mind that none of the other spells or feats mentioned anything Dragonlance at all. But there's that theory. So I think the Draconians would be removed. I felt that their death effects were silly at the time, and I think what they would be replaced by is the new and improved Dragonborn. The Draconian death effects were, you have this, basically a Dragonborn type creature, and if it dies, one type of Draconian would just burst into a spray of acid when killed. Another type would immediately turn to stone so fast that your sword that you stuck into this horrible creature gets stuck there too, in the statue. Another one would turn into a facsimile of the person who killed it, so that other Draconians would know who's killing their troops. It felt silly at the time, and I still maintain that it seems kind of silly. One of the races from Krynn that's not going to make it into 5th edition, at least not in any similar form, would be the Gully Dwarves. Now, the Gully Dwarves were a sub-race of dwarves who had no special abilities that other dwarves didn't get. Nothing special there. But their penalties were that their constitution was rolled on 3d4. Their intelligence, wisdom, and charisma were all rolled on 2d4 plus 1 each. So on a good day, at your possible best of rolling, your intelligence is lower than the average human. Just slightly lower. And on a bad day, it's rock bottom. I think a lot of people are not going to accept having characters who are mechanically lesser than the existing player character races. Not especially post Tasha's, where we decided to remove the racial bonuses for different species of creatures and just say, well, they're all floating bonuses. You get your die rolls or your assigned stats, and then you can just freely throw those 3 points anywhere you want. I don't think that's going to happen. And you're not going to have a specifically hindered race when we've removed sunlight sensitivity from even the deepest underground dwelling races. Because, heaven forbid, we have any penalties whatsoever to have to work around. I think that the Dragonlance chart for alignment is going to be removed. In Dragonlance, there was a specific chart tracking your alignment, and if you strayed from alignment a little bit, you would start to have penalties, like a 10% chance of spell failure or a 1 or 2 point penalty on your AC, as you struggle morally with maintaining your personal philosophies of good, evil, law, chaos. I don't see that happening in 5th edition, where they kind of seem to be straying away from alignment usage whatsoever. You even have a small portion of players who say, well, alignment doesn't matter. Well, it used to, and it still should, because that allows for a role-play possibility to work with. I don't think that the moon effects are going to be run nearly the same. See, in Dragonlance, depending on the day of the month from 1 to 30, and depending on whether you were a red, white, or black-robed mage, you would consult the chart, and your spellcasting ability would be more or less powerful than normal. The chart was a little convoluted, and it was a pain in the butt to have to deal with and keep track of. I think that one thing that's going to be kept, of course, is the red, white, and black robe wizards, because thankfully, that's pretty much baked in. The concept was, when you get up to 4th level, you have to go to the wizards and take a test, and if you succeed, you get to join these cliques of wizards based on alignment. And if you decide not to, well, then you're a renegade wizard doing off your own thing, and you're going to get hunted down by essentially the wizard mafia, because you need to join us or else. That allows for some kind of cool situations. Now, it may seem like I'm dogging on Dragonlance. I don't want to say that I'm dogging on Dragonlance. I've played in 2 different types of Dragonlance campaigns. The first being one where the players used the characters straight out of the books. And the problem with that is, as much as everybody wants to play the guys from the books, with a large enough party, somebody ends up playing a character that's weaker than the others. Lorana comes to mind, who had 0 benefits in combat, no attributes that would give a bonus, whereas some of the others were notably strong or quick or tough. So it was a little unfair. And the second type of Dragonlance campaign I played was one where the main characters had gone on different paths or had kind of stepped aside, and we all rolled characters just thematically appropriate but new and unique characters of our own, all equal to each other, on equal footing, and we just played as if those were going to be the ones that accomplished the main storyline. And that was a lot of fun. Now, Dragonlance is looked at through the lens of nostalgia, and everybody loves it. But an honest review is going to be one that, you got to admit, it did have some weak points. The Kender were obnoxious, and the Kender race has been used by who knows how many players as a way to disrupt a party and be obnoxious. The Kender have also been used as a race, the kleptomaniac halflings, mind you, as a way for DMs to absolutely rob parties blind with no recompense, no chance of avoiding it. Just, haha, screw you, I took all your gear. Nobody likes being ripped off. If there's things that players don't like, is having their gear stolen. Almost as much as just being killed off for no good reason. Now, Dragonlance was really good in one way. It was the epic tale of saving the world. And yet, in little points throughout it, there were these kind-hearted moments where you had things like Boo-Poo getting her little emerald, and little touching things of Tasselhoff Burfoot, yeah, I know, his obnoxious Kender, interacting with Fizbin the Fabulous, the sort of addled old wizard who turned out to be somebody else. But that's just my take on what Wizards of the Coast is going to do to Dragonlance. if they try to adapt it in a 5th edition. If you disagree, or if you agree, let me know in the comments. Thanks. DM Kurt out.